In music, hard work means, going into the practice room for hours a day and failing most of the time. And it's through the failure that you learn how to do something correctly. As a musician, I try to, and a teacher, I try to teach my students to look forward to failing, because that's where you find the most growth.
I think in both cases, in music and in philosophy, there can be a tendency to think about it the other way, where it's like failure isn't a good thing. Yeah. And it's maybe only a good thing insofar as it gets you to success. Whereas I like to think about it as we're having a conversation, and the mistakes that we make help each other recognize how to be better. I'm Domenica Romagni. I'm an assistant professor in the philosophy department, and my interests are in history of philosophy and also philosophy of aesthetics and philosophy of music, but I also have a musical background. I'm a classically trained cellist.
I'm John McGuire. I'm an associate professor of horn here in the School of Music, Theater, and Dance at CSU. I've been here this is my 11th year now, and been playing horn for, going on 35 years or so.
There's some similarities that I see between music and philosophy, in the sense that I think they're both, can be in some ways very isolated disciplines, where you're expected to just spend a bunch of time on your own by yourself working really hard at this thing. So I think one thing that I try and do in philosophy is contribute to a culture where you prioritize that whole person. And I think that's a recent change in philosophy as well. It was interesting for me to think about philosophy coming originally from a music background, because I think it's very clear, even if we think about music as having this innate dimension, you have to practice, right? You have to put in some work. I think a lot of students are intimidated if they're not immediately good at philosophy or at music. How do I get better? And I think the answer in music for me was much clearer, in terms of well, you have to put in the time every day and understanding what that means, versus in philosophy it's well, you have to put in the time every day, but is that just reading? Is that just thinking? Is that talking to somebody? And so thinking about philosophy more as a skills-based discipline has been something that I've been trying to think about more.
The idea of wellness in the performing arts is something that is, I don't want to say new, but maybe newer when you're talking about the history of music. In the last, I'd say 20 or 30 years, we've had more and more discussion about this idea. If you want to be able to go out on stage and perform at a high level, you have to take care of yourself. I think we've gotten to a point in society and with performing arts where the level of performance is so high these days, all over the world, that doing things the way we've always done them, we're finding is leading to limited results. And I'm beginning to believe that if we want to attain higher levels of achievement and performance, both as a society but also on an individual granular level, we have to make sure that we're taking care of the whole person. There's an idea that's emerging in recent decades that if you can take care of yourself, your whole person, that's going to allow for greater growth and greater progress in whatever your discipline is.
Recognizing that musicians or philosophers are whole people, and in order to be good at what you want to be good at, like you said, in order to perform well, you need to be mindful of the whole person.
You can't succeed in music or philosophy without that individual, focused, dedicated time on almost a daily basis, but it has to be balanced with other things. Thank you for sharing everything. That was really fascinating.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was really nice to hear about your experience, as a performer, as a teacher. It was really, really great.